this is Holistic Hooves. That's my business name, and my nickname is the Donkey Farrier. And you're here today for donkey hoof care on your terms. And this is a free live training with me. And today we're going to talk about three different things. What it's like to make hiring a farrier optional. And this is really important for folks because so many people struggle to find a donkey farrier. And then we're going to talk about what it looks like to turn resistance into cooperation. And I'm really excited about this one because I'm not a trainer. I'll give you that hint right now. I actually don't train donkeys, so this isn't going to be like a traditional trainer thing. It's much different. And then we're going to talk about how both of these things make it possible for you to heal chronic hoof issues. That's what we're doing today. So welcome. I'm glad you're here. By the end of this training, my hope is that you're going to understand how you can take your donkey's hoof care into your own hands. And I also really feel that is oftentimes the best hands that your donkey's hooves can be in is yours. And that's coming from a farrier. I'm a farrier of 20 years, right? And so housekeeping really quick, this is going to be roughly about 90 minutes, and that's going to include our Q&A at the end. So as you have questions throughout the presentation, save them because then we're going to talk more at the end. And you guys are already doing an incredible job of participating in the chat. And I'm so glad that you're doing that because as long as you do that, you're going to be entered to win. And I've got two prizes that I'm offering today. A Cody James Littlefoot rasp and a Tasaki pony hoof knife, two of my very favorite tools. I have a few favorite tools, but those are two of my favorites, and I thought that they would just make some really fun gifts. So your name will be drawn randomly at the end. There is a replay available, so if you have to leave, you can't be here, then that's okay, but I do encourage you to be here live. This is the Tasaki pony knife. This is one of my favorite hoof knives. It's perfect for donkey hooves. It's got a really nice long curved handle, which gives you a lot more leverage. And then it has a nice short blade. Some of the more traditional hoof knives for horse hooves have really long blades and they can work, but this one is just so much easier to get into a donkey hoof. And the Cody James Littlefoot rasp is a really fun, compact rasp that really gets in there, takes a lot of hoof. It's very easy, it's lightweight. As I've gotten older, my hands hurt, and I really like the lightweight, and I like how hard it works for me for little effort. So that's going to be exciting. Stay till the end and keep participating in the chat. Donkey owners are fully capable of caring for and trimming their own donkeys, and I can prove it to you. So if you've ever had anybody tell you, oh, you can't trim your own donkey, or if you've ever wondered if you could or if you couldn't, and you feel like, I don't know, is that really possible for me? I'm telling you that it totally is. And inside my online DIY donkey hoof trimming course, I teach you how to read what each hoof is telling you, how to create calm, trust-based trims without fear or restraint, how to prevent problems. And this is through nutrition, movement, and then understanding, and how to feel confident, capable, and connected to your donkey in every step. I just quickly want to show some very beautiful student trims here. These are wonderful. These are all trimmed by students that learned online and did not have any in-person instruction. And I just take a moment. These are so beautiful. And we're going to go over why these are so beautiful here in just a minute. I'm Megan Hensley, also known as the Donkey Farrier, and I love donkeys, and I have forever since I first started trimming back in 2006 as an apprentice. So I'm actually 20 and a half years now going on to working with donkeys, and they've brought a ton of joy to my life and just really, I just love them so much. And in the farrier industry, I realized very early on that they were underserved and misunderstood. And so I made it my thing to champion them. Did I know that 20 years later I would be where I'm at now with them? No, but I'm so grateful that I am. I'm a farrier that turned Donkey Hoof Education Authority. I've been teaching donkey hoof care to owners in person for over a decade. And then for the last 6 years, I've been teaching donkey owners online. And all during that time, I was trimming the donkeys that the industry wrote off, the ones that they said they have to be sedated or they're untrimmable or they're dangerous or you're never gonna get there with that donkey. And I've just been doing what people said couldn't be done for a long time. And then they also told me that I couldn't teach owners how to trim online either. And so I decided I was going to do that too. Because I don't like being told that we can't do things, especially when there's an animal on the other side who really needs you, right? I really consider now that the most important work I do is teaching donkey owners how to trim their own donkey's hooves. And there's a reason for that. It's because it puts the power into your hands and you are able to prevent problems, give them comfort. There's just so many reasons why trimming routinely and more frequently is in the best interest of your donkey's hooves and their whole overall well-being. And that is also because in the wild, donkeys are moving all the time and always trimming their hooves. They don't ever get long hooves. They don't ever need to be trimmed. And that is something that we really need to think about. And it's one of the reasons why learning to trim yourself can be so beneficial for your donkeys. It reduces stress. There's a lot of things we'll go over more of that too. And just quickly, here's some folks who are talking about the course. I'm going to be showing a lot of this throughout the thing because I want you to see that these are real people that are doing this. It's one thing for me to tell you, hey, you can learn to trim your own donkey's hooves, but when you see that other people are doing it, and you guys feel free to screenshot anything if you find valuable, you're welcome to take screenshots of anything you see here today. I've been disrupting the farrier industry for decades, and it's because it hasn't given donkeys or their owners the service or the support that they need. And this is a good picture because I work for the donkeys. So this is Hoorah, and he's overseeing. I laugh. I say I don't have a boss, but I do because I'm self-employed. But the donkey is my boss. I work for the donkey. It's not just learning about like how to trim your own donkey. It's about who you become in the process, which is calm, confident, and ultimately more deeply connected to your donkey. Another thing that's very different for me when I think about hoof care, and it's a little bit of why I'm a black sheep in the farrier industry, is that I believe that it's a relationship. This is not something that I come to do to your donkey. I don't show up and come to do this hoof trimming. It's a relationship that I'm cultivating and it's a service that I'm providing them. And my goal is always to be of good service to them. So rather than it me doing it to them, I show up and I think to myself and I say to them, I'm so lucky to be here today to spend this time with you to help make you feel better and to help give you care that you need. This is a big shift when you think about hoof care and all of the care that we're giving our donkeys. If we base it on relationship, cultivating and building a relationship, and it gets stronger over time. Tony, another student of mine, just incredible. So he joined way back in 2022. His donkey was kicking the rasp out of the farrier's hand. It was really just chaotic. The donkeys didn't like it, the owners didn't like it, and the farrier was like, I don't think that this is something that I can really handle. So he joined my course, and then 2 years later, he says, I've been trimming this guy myself for almost 2 years now, transformed the relationship. It's now just another activity they do together. And then he just updated me just a couple weeks ago in 2026. Him and his wife are still trimming. You can see here he had the lead rope over the neck. We started out with the halter and the lead rope over the neck, and then they've moved to complete liberty trimming and working together. I just think that is beautiful. This is what relationship looks like. This is what trust looks like, communicating. This is what safety feels like. Your donkey feels safe. And I'll tell you that it had less to do with the donkeys needing to change, per se, and it had everything to do with how Tony started showing up. How Tony and then his wife Anne, how they started showing up for the process. Let's jump into that first thing, make the farrier optional. Why would you want to make the farrier optional? It's for independence. You don't ever have to wonder if your farrier's doing a good job. I hear this a lot from donkey owners. They say, well, I'm just not sure if my farrier's doing a good job. You won't be guessing about red flags, which I hear a lot from people. They're like, well, I don't know. I feel like something's off with my donkey's hoof, but I'm just not sure. You'll see it clearly and you'll know what to do. And optional doesn't mean alone. It just means you're never stuck. I've got plenty of students and people that I work with that still work with a farrier occasionally. You have an opportunity to make it optional. You have the opportunity to become independent of a farrier. You have the opportunity to know if your donkey's hooves are healthy, to know what they need or not need. It really opens up a lot of possibilities for you. I gotta bust open my sparkling water. It's sparkling water, not a beer. Sound familiar? Does any of this sound familiar? I know it does because you guys already, a bunch of you already emailed me and told me these exact things. That's how I know. I also know because I've been doing this for so long. I already know you're struggling to find a farrier, or you call someone and they don't show up. I already know that your farrier keeps canceling. And I already know that there's potentially no one in your area that's willing to work with you or your donkeys. Or they say, well, you got to sedate them before I get there. So these are things that, I know are true. And it's a big reason for why I created my program and why I'm so passionate about supporting donkey owners and putting the power of taking care of your donkey's hooves into your hands. Because when all this is happening, when you can't find someone or they cancel, there's no one in your area, then your donkey's well-being starts to suffer because hoof care is not optional. Hoof trimming is not optional. They have to have their hooves cared for and trimmed, and then you're stuck and your donkey's hoof health keeps declining when these things are happening. So now let's look at some healthy donkey hooves. What do you guys think of these? Ooh, drop it in the chat, actually. I'd love, because I'll be able to go through and read the chat later too, and I'm going to take a look at it right now. These are like healthy donkey hooves, and spoiler alert, they're all trimmed by my students, except for this one right here. That's me. I've been trimming that foot for, oh, that's a saddle paw foot. I've been trimming this foot right here for 20 years. I was an apprentice when I went there. Look at that. It's so pretty. And we're going to talk about why it's pretty in a minute. But first of all, I just want you guys to take it in. Just look at those hooves. This is a foal hoof right here. This is a mini donkey hoof. This is a very large standard. And then these are standards right here. These are a BLM. And then I'm not sure what this is in. So I'm going to pull out my handy dandy drawing tool. Let's take a look. And this is when we talk about what it takes to learn to trim your own donkey. One of the first things that I teach you is how to see. You got to be able to look at the foot and know what you're looking at and know it looks normal. As I draw this across here, this is our coronary band, if you're not familiar. And then this is the coronary band. Sits kind of underneath the hair there. And I can't nerd out too hard and drag this on, so I'm going to do my best here. That's our coronary band there. The coronary band is soft. It's got the soft tissue. It's also where the periopal is sitting underneath there. And because it's soft tissue, it can get moved up or down depending on what's happening at the solar surface of the foot here. Solar is the bottom surface of the foot. And what we're looking for is we're looking for symmetry. What we're looking at is it's nice straight across here and the hoof wall is nice and straight. Doesn't that look relatively balanced if you're to look at each side? And then when we come over here to this foot, notice the heels are back here. Here's the back of the frog. The heels are right back here towards the back of the frog, almost to the widest part of it. If we were looking down the limb, we'd probably see that they're sitting just slightly above that because I like to keep our heels just slightly above that healthy frog plane. But this is a beautiful back of the foot where the donkey is landing. The heels are back underneath the animal. And what's that look like from a lateral view? Here's that heel. There's the frog, right? The heel is underneath the limb of the animal. Same thing over here, up under the limb. And that's what we're seeing there. And if any of this gets a little confusing, don't worry. Just enjoy this from an artist's perspective. Notice when I cut this foot in half, and I'm not drawing perfectly, but that's relatively balanced, isn't it? From here to here is relatively balanced. The frog cut in half is relatively balanced, like symmetrical, right? Same thing with this guy. Here's our pretty little frog. Here's our heels back to the widest part of the frog. Break this guy in half. It's looking pretty symmetrical. Here is this frog view here, or the heel and frog view. There's the frog and there's the heel. So here we're looking at from what's known as an oblique view. Again, that heel base is up under the limb of the animal, which is really important. We've got a nice slope to the coronary band on all of these. This is when they talk about angles, when we have our heels back where they belong and the toe is short like it needs to be. Those are our angles that we're talking about. The other thing I want you to notice on this healthy foot is there's our white line. It looks pretty darn tight. And we're going to see some that aren't. And then the hoof wall is pretty even going around. Isn't that pretty? When you think of this, I'm sure most everybody here appreciates art to some degree. And I am much more of an artist hoof trimmer than I am a measuring, although measurements match up with symmetry and aesthetically pleasing aspects of a foot. Those are some really good looking feet. I could just stare at them all day. I tell my students, once you see it, you can't unsee it. And this is really important. As you understand what the healthy hoof looks like, and that's why we're going to spend a lot of time looking at some healthy hooves, because then that's how you can compare it. You get an idea of, okay, these are healthy parameters. This is what I know to be true for healthy parameters of a hoof. And when they start to fall outside of that, you can say, okay, Houston, we got a problem, right? Here's some very beautiful, healthy hooves again. I won't spend so much time drawing on them. I'm just going to use my little thing, but there's that heel base. There's that frog. I want you to notice that the heel bulbs here are not stretched. We'll see some here in a minute are stretched. Again, there's the base of the frog. There's the heel base. I want you to also notice that these hoof walls are relatively smooth. I mean, they're dirty because they're hoof walls, but they're smooth. This one has a little bit of rings here. This one, just a little bit there. This is a mammoth donkey. This is a large standard. This is a foal, and this is a mini. Foal hooves, we're going to talk about those too very briefly, but foals need routine, frequent, early trimming, and this is a foal hoof here. Here's some more healthy hooves, very similar. Really notice your heel base and your frog base. Something that I want you guys to know is on Facebook and other places, you'll see the very dramatic, the long hooves, and they come out with the saw and they're like, we gotta saw the toe off. We gotta get rid of that. You do. But it's actually not the most important first step for your donkey's hooves. Establishing what I call the healthy heel base, making sure that your frog is trimmed to the exfoliation line of the frog, to the healthy frog plane, and making sure that your heels are back within the healthy frog plane, right? Here's those heels, there's the frog. So we use our frog to help determine our healthy heel plane. There's again, there's the heels and the frog. The back of the foot is more important. Well, it's not more important, but when we're doing trims, we want to make sure that we're establishing the healthy back of the foot, because this is where all of their weight needs to come, and we need to stabilize that, and then we start bringing the toe back. All right, now take that in there for a second. After looking at some healthy hooves, What do you see now? Here's this foot, looks very similar, and you guys can drop in the chat and talk to me. Look at this one. Remember how on that other foot I drew the straight line? Look at all this extra foot, and what's it doing? It's pushing up the coronary band, just like I said it would do. That soft tissue pushed it up. Same thing with this one. It's kind of collapsing under, getting pushed up. If we take a look here, we can see how out of balance this is up here. These hooves down here on the bottom both have long heels. One is just still kind of sitting upright, and one has collapsed down on the back. And there's just kind of no telling how the donkey is going to try to cope with compromised hooves, overgrown hooves. Every single one of these hooves, except for this one right here, is overgrown. This one had a good trim. This is white line disease. What you're looking at here is a massive white line disease infection that went all the way up into the foot here. This is also white line disease. This foot is overgrown. This foot is severely overgrown. This foot is severely overgrown. This foot is severely overgrown. And this foot is severely overgrown. Overgrowth is going to be your biggest contributor to hoof problems, which is another reason why becoming an owner trimmer and trimming your animal more frequently is one of the best things that can happen for them. But as you could see, each one of these hooves are presenting differently. This one collapsed, the toe ran forward. This poor guy, wait till you see his transformation too. His transformation is coming later, but I mean, it's wild, isn't it? And when we go back and we just re-look at the healthy foot, and then we look at this. Now, if anybody has a foot that's looking funky, don't worry. It's okay. I'm not here to judge anybody. Most of my students or people that have worked with me, many of them start in a place where their donkey's hooves are severely compromised and they need help like last year. But we do the best that we can with the resources that we have, with the knowledge that we have. And donkeys are resilient, so that's good. And, if you're seeing something here today and you're starting to feel concerned, that's okay because I can help you and you can help your donkey. So here's some more abnormal hooves. Look at this. So here's that tall heel that we're looking at from the back, and here's that line of frog exfoliation. Super, super long heel. The frog this is like where the healthy frog plane is roughly. So that means that the heel is like, this is all excess heel. Isn't that wild? Same thing over here. Here's where knowing what a healthy hoof looks helps you make trimming decisions, because look, I'm going to draw out that frog doesn't look great, but I know what a healthy frog should be roughly. I know it should be about like that. There, her frog sucks, so we'll just draw her in a new one. There it is. And then if I come out from there, there's my white line. All right. Oh, well, that sure looks like a whole lot of extra hoof hanging off of there, doesn't it? Sure does. And if you didn't see it, now you do. That is all excess hoof. And then there's also even more to go that could be, we would then, using our healthy frog plane, start to exfoliate the frog so that then we get that off. But even without doing those things, I can see all of that excess foot. Here we're looking at excess foot from the front. Sometimes it likes to curve up and you see all of this mess here. You can also see how it's rocking back. This foot got a very brief trim. It did look like that, and this was kind of like a first pass at that trim. So again, there are some very unhealthy hooves that we're looking at. Now I'm going to take you through some hooves that got trimmed. So here we have an unhealthy foot, and let's take a look. Here's our overgrown frog. This is roughly where our healthy frog plane wants to be. You can see that the heels are very forward of that. And then you have all of this excess toe. This is a one trim. I trimmed the frog back and then was able to use the healthy frog plane to help me judge my sole plane. And this is an overview. I can't teach you everything about how to trim the frog, how to trim the sole in just one webinar, but these are some of the landmarks that we use to learn to trim. But this was done in one trim. We took this hoof from ooh to ooh, better. This donkey felt better. This was the trim that started it all. You might be wondering what all this is. This is bruising. This is stretched lamina. This little mini donkey did have laminitis. So there's a lot of extra stuff going on there, but it doesn't stop me from doing the initial trim that he needs to get more comfortable. And it really focused on stabilizing the back of his foot and then bringing the toe forward. Here's that foot that we just looked at, and here was the owner's first pass. This was just the one trim. This isn't the finished product, right? But look what she was able to accomplish. Look what happened to our coronary band. Look at it was so rocked back that it was literally pinching this area right here. Now look at it. Isn't that incredible? And while this heel is still too long, look at what she did with it. She did this all by herself, one trim. So now there is more to go. She's going to get under, well, she's actually fully rehabbed this donkey a long time ago, but we're roughly probably got like that much more to trim to go to get him back to a better place. But so this, I'm hoping this helps you also know that if your donkey's hooves are in a seemingly bad way, this looks really bad. It's not good for them, but look at how quickly we can change the tide. One trim, and we're already providing them more relief and able to land better. Same thing with this one. This foot is really imbalanced. Not only is it overgrown, but it's imbalanced, meaning we have more hoof tissue on this side than we have on this side. So there's more to trim over here, less to trim over here. Look at this. Those little tails from the crypt in here. All it really needed was to have that trim, that frog trimmed off. And they did a really great job with their first pass, but there was more to go. There's the line of exfoliation there for the frog. You take that off first, and then we could take a little more bars. But just look at what happened for that donkey in just one trim. Not good. This is better. Next trim, even better. Next trim after that, the best. It happens relatively quickly. And just a hint, this is how we heal chronic hoof issues. When we get to that last part of the chronic hoof issues, we heal chronic hoof issues by trimming properly and frequently, which is exciting. Here's another one. Look at how much that foot wanted to fold over right there. And you see how there's that white line, and then here's our white line here. Here's that frog, line of exfoliation of that frog. Can you see that? Huh. What did they do? They read the hoof. This is what reading the hoof is about. You take a look at a hoof. Doesn't this hoof look more like a normal, healthy hoof that we know falls into the parameters? So when you go to trim your donkey's hoof, you want to look at the really bad hoof, and then you've got to imagine the beautiful hoof that's underneath there. And how do we unravel it? How do we start to pull away the things, remove the things? And notice on this side, actually, let me clear this out. Oh, look over here. It already got rid of it. It said it was already wanting to break off. In fact, notice how it's developing all these cracks through here. This is the foot trying to break itself off. So she came in and just said, let me help you. All of that stuff went bye-bye. And then this is what was the result. One trim, instant relief. I'd love it. Oh my gosh, this was another student. All of these are student trims. They just blow me away. Every time my student sends me, oh, look what I did, I just go, oh my God. I know it's so possible for people to do it, but it still just blows me away when I see what they're able to accomplish. But look at this thing, you know, it's a mile long, it's broken, it's busted, there's all this funk in here. And with a foot like this, if you don't know what you're learning now about the heels needing to be back underneath the animal, how we need to have that short toe, that sloped coronary band, that healthy frog base. You might pick up this foot and then look inside of it and go, oh God, it's got the thrush, it's got the this, it's got the that. Well, yeah, look at it. But if you don't know that, you might think, I need to put the topical on it. I need to treat it for this. I need to treat it for that. No, the first thing it needs is a trim. You can't treat a diseased hoof that isn't being trimmed properly. And I hope that makes sense. I could soak this in a bucket of antiseptic and it's not going to do anything for it because I already know underneath this foot is funky. It is packed full of gunk. The frog is probably rotting. We can already see that the hoof wall's rotting and everything here. But when you look at what happened after the trim, you can see, in fact, let's take that. She did, roughly, just roughly like that. All of this disappeared. She trimmed all of that away to get over here to this. This donkey was instantly more comfortable. It's just wild, isn't it? Ah, can anybody guess what this is? This is a foal. This is a foal. And I get really riled up about foals because they do not get trimmed frequently enough. This, you will see this foot on a foal so often. Oh, they don't need to see the farrier. Oh, my farrier says they don't need their feet trimmed. No, they do. I am trimming baby donkeys by no later than 4 weeks of age, no matter what. This is a long foot on this little foal. Can you see what happened here? Look at that. How is a donkey going to build a healthy hoof structure when it's overgrown? Look at how long that is. Then here is the correct. Can you see the difference? See how the foot is up under the limb? This puts strain on the tendons. It doesn't stimulate the back of the hoof as it's designed. There's a lot of issues with this, so hopefully this image really shows you if anybody has baby donkeys or if you're thinking about having baby donkeys, please know that providing them with proper hoof care from the moment they're born is going to eliminate so many potential hoof issues. Here's another one trim. We're just going to go through a couple of more of these and then we're going to talk a little bit in the chat. This is another one trim wonder. Super overgrown hoof. No, we uncover the funk and we uncover all the excess hoof because we know the landmarks that we need to know what the healthy donkey hoof is, and then we trim them back. And in one trim, this is what we accomplish. This is another one of my more recent students' trims. When you look at this foot, I mean, you can't hardly see what's going on, really. Let's see. We've got a crooked frog here. It's pointing this way. We know we've got some gaps in the foot here. We know we got some gaps in the white line here. Just kind of looks tattered and what the heck's going on there? As he began to trim and uncover, he was able to uncover some pockets of white line disease here. He was able to trim his frog back. Notice he's got a lot of his frog back. We use the frog a lot as a guide for helping us. There's still bar that needs to come out, but this was the first pass. In fact, this hoof has already gone through multiple trims now since he joined the program, and they're just looking incredible. But if you're an owner and you're picking up this foot and you think, well, that looks pretty scary. I don't know what to do with it. My program teaches you what to do with it. I'm teaching people how to take a foot like this to get them to this, and then they get them to the next phases. And then voila, you got trimmed hooves and you're in charge and your donkeys are better every day for it. And to segue into that, this is the owner trimmer advantage. Only you can do this. And when I say only you can do this, when you're the one holding the tools, you can go slow. When my students are working through hooves, they're not trimming all four hooves at one time generally. They're usually picking up one hoof, trimming that one, or even doing one phase of the trim. Okay, today I picked up the foot and I trimmed the frog. Tomorrow or the next day, I'm going to pick up the foot and I'm going to exfoliate the sole. And then I'm going to go from the sole, to removing the bars. You can go slow, one hoof at a time. If you have a donkey, if they've got hoof issues, sometimes they're in pain, which makes it difficult for a farrier to work with them because they don't want to stand. Or if they are just resistant to hoof handling in general, it can be very difficult for a donkey in the early stages to make it through a whole trim. Well, when you're an owner trimmer, you don't have to do all the trims at once. You can do one hoof at a time, one part of the hoof at a time. You can break it down. You do it when you can work with your donkey. And there's no farrier that's on the clock showing up to work for you that's going to be able to give that to your donkey. This is something that you are able to do. And not everybody needs this, but some of you might. If you're here on this thing, then you're probably struggling to find a farrier or you have a donkey who's resistant or has hoof problems, because those are the top three things that we were covering today. And so becoming an owner trimmer alleviates all of this stress and worry and makes everything so much more manageable because you take it in bite-sized pieces. The way I teach my students is I say, today we're going to do this, and then the next day you're going to do this, and you're going to move along at a pace. And every single experience that you and your donkey have together, you're building your skill. And it's, you got to learn to use the tools and hold the feet. I mean, it's a thing, but people are doing it. Hundreds of donkey owners are doing it. So as you're growing and building, your donkey is also getting the chance to process, oh, that didn't hurt, or oh, that made me feel a little bit better. That's the other thing with the way we trim, we're always focusing on trimming. I call it the triage trim. So we're going to trim the most important thing first that's going to bring them the most comfort. Because if I've got to put the foot down and they don't want to do anymore, I need to make whatever I just did count so that donkey can walk away and go, well, I didn't like it, but it wasn't horrible. And then, a few days later, they go, maybe I feel better, because donkeys are really smart, which we're going to go over that here in a second. Some more of my students talking about how much they love the program, and not just the program, but what happens for them. Okay. Heather couldn't find a farrier. I know she reached out to me multiple times before she joined the program. And finally, she was just like, I can't freaking find anybody. No one will come. And now she's, wow, I'm just trimming all 5 of my own. There's other students in the program that cheer you on. This is true. In fact, there's students who came to this webinar just because they wanted to be here with you guys, which is really cool. All right. So now we're going to jump into the chat really quick. Oh my gosh, it's already almost 4 o'clock. Wow. I'll have to go a little faster. If you feel comfortable, and remember, this is a no judgment zone. If anybody here is thinking, oh, I can't believe if your hooves looked like any of those hooves, or maybe they even looked worse than the ones that, we don't do that here.